Good morning, everybody. MG here, MGCovers, bringing you a brand new handicapping video. The title of this video is Revealing a Sports Betting Secret. Factor everything, but never overreact to one thing. We'll dive into the video here shortly. As always, if this is your first time here, greatly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If you want to learn a lot about sports betting, sports handicapping, this is a great channel to subscribe to. I have a ton of content. If you want to follow me on social media, I am MGCovers, covers spelled with a Z. That's on Instagram and Twitter. And you get a lot of nuggets, things I don't necessarily make a video about. I want to post on my storyline. You'll see that there on Instagram. So let's dive into this video. We're going to use a legit real-life example, which I think is important from yesterday. This was from a monitoring service. We were the actual top expert yesterday at sportswatchmonitor.com. MGCovers, you can see it says ROI 151, profit 453. I'll explain that in a second, but my monitoring service, instead of going to units gained, they're ranking handicappers by ROI, which means what we invested, we had a 151% yield on that investment. So we'll dive into that. We had one play. But the whole premise of this video is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, and I'll give you a couple examples, is that even sharps do this, myself included, is that we overreact to one thing. Let me give you an example. You saw this a lot during the NBA season this past year. Let's say the line for the Nets with Kevin Durant is -12. All right. Just a hypothetical, but this type situation did happen a lot. So it's -12. Well, maybe like 2 hours before the game, they announced Kevin Durant is not going to play. So thinking, on the other side, you're getting +12. A lot of people immediately start hammering that line. And let's say that line moves all the way to Nets -6. Well, what that is an example of is overreacting to one particular element, which is an injury. And again, that happens. And a lot of times what you'll see is because they've overreacted to that, now the Nets line is, say, -6. There may be, depending on what your stat model shows, there may be value in taking the Nets at -6. So that situation comes up a lot. You see it in NHL. This was maybe a couple weeks ago. I can't remember the player that was missing. It was a top scorer for one of the NHL teams was absent, and the public completely overreacts to that one particular player being absent. And, of course, that team, even though they didn't have their top scorer, ended up winning that game. So, and what I'm going to show you here in this example from yesterday is you can't overreact to line movement. It's vital, it's important, but again, a good handicapper factors everything, but never overreacts to one thing. So let's just sort of dive into this. The Baltimore-Minnesota game, you can see here, I'm going to go through this quickly. We're going to look at Pinnacle, which is a good book to follow. Let's see. Baltimore opened at +180. Minnesota opened up at -190. If you look at line movement, it moves in favor of Baltimore here from 180 down to 166. So you say, okay, line movement's moving in favor of Baltimore. You play Baltimore, you would have lost. St. Louis, Chicago White Sox. And I'll show you my line too. Let's go ahead and look at that, because I think that can sometimes help here. And these are my power rankings that I create every single day. Baltimore, my line was 122. Minnesota was -106. So via my power ranking, there was a little bit of value there. Baltimore, but of course it was a no play because we only had one. We only played one game yesterday, and I'll show you that. St. Louis opened at +162, closed at +197. And you can see here, Chicago White Sox opened up at -172, closed at 218. So line movement favored White Sox. They lost. This example, Minnesota, line movement favored Baltimore. They lost. So again, if you just focused on line movement in those particular examples, those would have been losses. Seattle, Oakland, line opens at -165, closes at -179 for Oakland. Of course, this was a no play. We had Oakland at -120, Seattle +133, so not enough value there to justify a play. Texas, LA Angels, line opens at +112. Texas moves all the way to -111. Some other books had it higher than that. You can see here, Just Bet -129. So the line moves in favor of Texas. LA Angels win. My line here, both of these teams were really bad via my power rankings. Yeah, my +150 for Texas, +140 for LA Angels. So there's no way we're going to pay, plus -111 or +103 for either team. Chicago Cubs, line open at -145, moved down to -127. So this line movement here favors Pittsburgh, and the Cubs win. You can look at my my line here. We had Cubs at -108, Pittsburgh at +133, so not a lot of value there. And then finally, the game that we did play yesterday, you could see here, Philadelphia, it opens at -168. Not a lot of movement. Some books it moved down. It was at -167. You could see Miami here was +158, closed at +153. So just based on that, maybe a slight bit of line movement in favor of Miami. And what's important, when you look here at my power rankings, we had, let me see if I can push this up here. We had, push this to the top, Philadelphia was +122. We had Miami +138. Now, when you look at Philadelphia, it was +122. If you go over here, +122, is that right here? It says +122, converts into a 45% chance of winning. So how I handicap this game, this is called a classic play against. So we're not necessarily playing Miami because they're a good team. This is simply a play against Philadelphia. So the line movement was fairly neutral. You can see here, this is the hitting rating. We had Philadelphia at a 49, Miami at a 44. Pitching 40-41. Pitching was not really that good on either team, either side. So the way I handicap this, Philadelphia only has a 45% chance of winning. However, we are getting +153 in favor of Miami. So we're getting +153 against a team that only has a 45% chance of winning. So in essence, going back to my monitoring service, that's exactly what we did. In this particular example, we wagered a third unit. Can't really wager an exact third unit with my sports book. With SportsWatch monitoring, I actually wagered a true third unit, which will be 0.33. The way I send it into my monitoring service is it would be like wagering $300 and winning that particular game at +150. So the return on that 151 would be $453. Okay, so that was so that's how I handicap that game. So we'll continue to move forward here. Cleveland -120 moved a tick in favor of Cleveland there. Detroit wins that one. You can see my power rankings. We have both teams at dog money. Cleveland +133, Detroit +122. Could have made a case for maybe a play against in that one, but we're only getting +113, so didn't like those particular odds there. KC, Tampa Bay. Fairly neutral line movement here. KC +185, closed at +180. That was a no play for me. We had, Tampa Bay as the favorite there. And, of course, they won. Atlanta, Boston, line movement moved heavily in favor of Boston here. Opens at -108, closes at -140. Boston did, in fact, win that one. My line was, Atlanta -122, Boston -110. So could have made a case for Atlanta there getting value, but obviously you're going against line movement, which is going back to the original premise of this video, is that you have to factor everything. San Diego, Milwaukee. San Diego -122. Line closes at -117, so moves against San Diego slightly there. I feel like this probably being transparent and honest, this probably was a miss on my part. We had San Diego at minus 124. Milwaukee, a very poor hitting team. You can see here, this is my power rankings. We had them as the 4th worst hitting team via my power rankings. So considering we had a line at minus 124, line moved against San Diego slightly, but at 117 we're getting a little bit of value. So that probably should have been a play in favor of San Diego there. And then finally closing this out, San Francisco, Arizona, minus 127. The line opens with San Francisco, closes at minus 110, so that line movement favors Arizona in this case. San Francisco won. They came back late there. So, again, the whole premise of this video is to remind you is in sports betting, you're not going to overreact to line movement. You're not going to overreact to one player absent. You have to factor everything. You have to have a stat model like I have here. So you can compare, does this game have value? You still want to look at line movement. Is this a public team? Is this a non-public team? Are there situational angles in our favor for the team that we're considering? So you factor everything, never overreact to one thing. So hopefully this video helps, gives you some tips. You can apply this pretty much to any sport. If you'd like to have access to my power rankings that you see right here, you can get that for $29.95 per month. There's a link in the description box. In addition to all my power rankings for all sports, you also get access to all of my coaching videos. I upload one coaching video per week. If you want to get access to all my power rankings in addition to all my plays, that is $49.95 per month, and you can join for an entire year. Save about $300. That's $299 for an entire year. Gives you access to everything on the site. So anyway, good luck today. Apply this concept, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.